Have you ever looked around and wondered why so many people seem exhausted, anxious, and emotionally disconnected despite living in one of the most advanced periods in human history? We have faster technology, instant communication, unlimited entertainment, and more opportunities than any previous generation could have imagined. We can talk to someone on the other side of the world within seconds, access almost any piece of information with a few taps on a screen, and choose from countless career paths, lifestyles, and experiences. Yet beneath all these conveniences lies a strange feeling that many people struggle to explain. It is the quiet sense that something important is missing. It feels as though life has become busier but not richer, louder but not more meaningful, and more connected but somehow more lonely. This feeling is not simply the result of personal failure or a lack of motivation. It reflects a deeper transformation in the way modern society functions. The world around us has become increasingly fluid, unstable, and unpredictable. Things that once gave people a sense of certainty now change constantly. Jobs are no longer guaranteed for decades. Companies rise and disappear within a few years. Friendships often begin and end through social media. Relationships are formed quickly, but can also dissolve just as fast. Trends change overnight, and what is considered valuable today may be forgotten tomorrow. People are expected to adapt continuously, learning new skills, changing careers, moving cities, and reinventing themselves again and again. While this constant change is often presented as freedom, it also creates an invisible burden that weighs heavily on the human mind. In earlier generations, life followed a more predictable rhythm. People often grew up in the same communities, where they spent most of their lives. Families lived close to one another, traditions were passed down through generations, and many individuals worked in the same profession for decades. Although those societies had their own problems and limitations, they also offered something many people long for today: stability. People knew where they belonged, what was expected of them, and how their lives fit into a larger story. That sense of continuity created emotional security, even during difficult times. Modern society has gradually replaced that stability with flexibility. We are encouraged to believe that changing constantly is the key to success. We are told that we should never become too attached to one place, one career, one identity, or even one way of thinking. At first glance, this sounds exciting because it promises endless opportunities. However, endless possibilities often bring endless uncertainty. When nothing feels permanent, it becomes difficult to feel grounded. Every decision carries the fear that there might be a better option somewhere else. Every achievement feels temporary because something newer and better is always waiting around the corner. This constant instability affects the way people think about themselves. Instead of discovering who they truly are, many spend their lives trying to keep up with changing expectations. Identity becomes something that must be updated regularly, much like the software on a smartphone. A person is no longer encouraged simply to grow naturally through life. Instead, they are expected to continuously improve, rebrand, and reinvent themselves in order to remain relevant. The pressure to always become a better version of yourself sounds inspiring, but it can also become exhausting. If you are always trying to become someone else, when do you ever get the chance to simply be yourself? Technology has accelerated this feeling in ways previous generations never experienced. Social media exposes people to thousands of carefully edited lives every day. We compare our ordinary moments to everyone else's highlight reels. Someone is always traveling to a beautiful destination, achieving a major success, buying a new home, starting a business, or celebrating another milestone. Even though we know these images do not represent complete reality, they still influence our emotions. We begin to question whether we are doing enough, earning enough, or living an exciting enough life. The comparison never ends because there is always another person who appears happier, wealthier, more attractive, or more successful. As a result, many people begin chasing validation instead of meaning. They become focused on collecting likes, followers, compliments, and recognition because these provide brief moments of satisfaction. Yet these moments disappear quickly, leaving behind the need for even more attention. External approval becomes addictive because it offers temporary relief from deeper feelings of insecurity. Unfortunately, no amount of validation can permanently fill the emptiness created by a lack of inner stability. The workplace reflects this same pattern. Many employees no longer expect lifelong careers. Instead, they prepare themselves for constant competition and uncertainty. They feel pressure to acquire new qualifications, stay ahead of technological changes, and remain valuable in an ever-changing job market. Success becomes a moving target that can never truly be reached because the standards continue to evolve. Just when someone feels they have finally achieved stability, the rules change again. This creates a constant state of stress where people feel they must always prove their worth. Relationships have also become affected by this culture of impermanence. Many people desire deep emotional connections, but they also fear commitment because commitment appears risky in a world where everything changes so quickly. Dating applications and social media create the impression that there are endless alternatives available. Whenever difficulties arise, it becomes tempting to believe that someone better may be only one swipe away. While this abundance of choice appears empowering, it often weakens people's willingness to invest time and patience in building lasting relationships. As a result, connections become shallower, and loneliness grows even in societies where people are constantly surrounded by others. This emotional instability extends beyond relationships and careers into everyday life. People often feel rushed even when they have nowhere important to be. They check their phones repeatedly without any real purpose. They consume endless streams of information, entertainment, and news, yet struggle to remember what truly mattered at the end of the day. Their attention becomes fragmented, constantly pulled from one distraction to another. Silence feels uncomfortable because it forces them to confront thoughts and emotions they have been avoiding. One of the greatest ironies of modern life is that people have gained more freedom while often feeling less free. They have more choices than ever before, yet those choices frequently create confusion rather than confidence. Instead of feeling grateful for endless opportunities, many feel overwhelmed by them. Every decision seems to carry the possibility of regret because another path might have been better. This fear of missing out traps people in endless comparison and hesitation, preventing them from fully embracing the life they already have. The emotional emptiness many experience today is therefore not caused by having too little. It often comes from living in an environment where nothing seems permanent enough to provide lasting meaning. Human beings naturally seek stability, belonging, purpose, and connection. These needs cannot be fully satisfied through constant consumption, endless entertainment, or temporary achievements. They require something deeper that remains steady even as the world continues to change. Recognizing this reality is the first step toward understanding modern life. The emptiness people feel is not evidence that they are broken or incapable of happiness. It is a natural response to living in a society that rewards speed over reflection, flexibility over stability, and appearance over authenticity. When every aspect of life becomes temporary, the human heart struggles to find solid ground. Understanding this condition allows people to stop blaming themselves for every feeling of dissatisfaction. Instead of believing they simply need to work harder, buy more, or become more successful, they can begin asking more meaningful questions. What truly matters? What relationships deserve lasting commitment? What values remain important regardless of changing trends? These questions shift attention away from endless external pursuits toward a more stable inner foundation. Modern life will likely continue changing at an incredible pace. Technology will evolve, careers will transform, and new trends will replace old ones. Change itself is not the enemy. The real challenge is learning how to remain emotionally grounded while living in a constantly changing world. Those who develop strong values, meaningful relationships, and a clear sense of purpose are far less likely to be swept away by the endless currents of modern life. They discover that genuine fulfillment does not come from chasing every new possibility, but from building something lasting within themselves, even when everything around them remains in motion. In today's world, one of the most significant changes in human life is not simply the advancement of technology or the rise of social media. It is the transformation of personal identity into something that can be marketed, displayed, and consumed. Instead of asking ourselves who we truly are, we are increasingly encouraged to ask how we appear to others. Our value is no longer measured only by our character, wisdom, or relationships, but by the image we create and the attention that image receives. Identity has gradually become a product, carefully packaged for public display, constantly updated to match changing trends and expectations. For most of human history, people developed their identity through family, culture, religion, community, and personal experiences. A person's character was shaped over many years through relationships, responsibilities, hardships, and achievements. Identity was something that grew naturally from within. It was deeply connected to values, traditions, and a sense of belonging. Although people certainly cared about their reputation, they did not have to constantly broadcast every aspect of their lives to the entire world. Their worth was determined by how they lived, not by how successfully they promoted themselves. Modern society has dramatically changed this process. Today, people are surrounded by platforms that encourage continuous self-presentation. Social media profiles have become personal advertisements where every photo, caption, achievement, and opinion contributes to a carefully constructed public image. Instead of simply living our lives, we often feel pressure to document them. A vacation is no longer just an opportunity to relax. It becomes content. A meal is not simply something to enjoy. It becomes a photograph. Even acts of kindness are sometimes performed with the expectation that they will be shared online. The experience itself often becomes secondary to the image created from it. This constant performance slowly changes the way people think about themselves. Rather than asking what genuinely makes them happy, they begin asking what will receive the most attention. Instead of choosing activities because they are meaningful, they choose experiences because they are impressive. The desire for authenticity is gradually replaced by the desire for visibility. People become actors on a digital stage, carefully editing every scene of their lives while hiding the ordinary struggles that every human being experiences. One of the biggest reasons this happens is the powerful influence of external validation. Every notification, like, comment, and share provides a small feeling of satisfaction. These reactions make us feel noticed, accepted, and appreciated. Our brains naturally respond to positive feedback, making social approval rewarding. However, the satisfaction is usually temporary. As soon as the excitement fades, we begin seeking the next source of validation. A single successful post is no longer enough. We feel pressure to create another one, then another, constantly chasing attention that never provides lasting fulfillment. Over time, self-worth becomes connected to numbers on a screen. A person may upload a photograph and immediately begin checking how many people have liked it. If the response is strong, they feel confident and valuable. If it receives little attention, they begin questioning themselves. Their mood rises and falls according to the reactions of strangers, acquaintances, or online followers. Something as deeply personal as self-esteem becomes dependent on forces completely outside their control. This creates a dangerous emotional cycle. Since public attention is unpredictable, people constantly feel the need to improve their image. They buy fashionable clothes not because they need them, but because they help maintain a certain appearance. They purchase expensive technology, visit popular destinations, or follow the latest trends because these choices communicate status. Even personal opinions sometimes become products. Instead of expressing genuine beliefs, people often repeat popular ideas because they know those opinions will receive approval. Authenticity becomes less important than acceptance. Consumer culture strengthens this process by suggesting that identity can always be upgraded through purchasing new products. Advertisements rarely sell objects alone. They sell lifestyles. A luxury watch is presented as confidence. A sports car becomes success. Designer clothing represents sophistication. The message is subtle but powerful. You are not buying a product. You are buying a better version of yourself. Every purchase promises transformation, suggesting that happiness and confidence are only one transaction away. The problem is that these promises never last. The excitement of buying something new fades surprisingly quickly. A phone that felt revolutionary 6 months ago suddenly appears outdated after the next model is released. Fashion trends change every season. Technology evolves constantly. As products become obsolete, the identities attached to them also feel outdated. This encourages endless consumption because people believe they must keep updating their image in order to remain valuable and relevant. The workplace reflects this same mindset. Employees are increasingly expected to build personal brands rather than simply perform their jobs well. Professional networking platforms encourage individuals to promote their achievements, share their expertise, and market themselves continuously. Success is no longer based solely on competence. Visibility becomes equally important. People feel pressure to demonstrate productivity at all times, fearing that remaining quiet may make them appear unsuccessful or unimportant. This pressure extends into everyday conversations as well. Many people instinctively mention their achievements, travels, promotions, or personal projects because modern culture rewards self-promotion. While there's nothing wrong with celebrating accomplishments, constantly presenting ourselves as successful can create emotional exhaustion. People begin feeling that they must always appear confident, happy, productive, and ambitious, even during periods of struggle. Vulnerability becomes something to hide because it does not fit the carefully crafted image they wish to project. One of the greatest consequences of turning identity into a product is the loss of genuine self-understanding. When people spend most of their energy managing how others perceive them, they have little time left to discover who they actually are. Their choices become guided by public approval rather than personal conviction. They may spend years pursuing careers, lifestyles, or goals that look impressive from the outside, but leave them feeling empty on the inside. Comparison further intensifies this problem. Social media exposes people to thousands of carefully edited lives every day. We rarely see ordinary moments, failures, disappointments, or loneliness. Instead, we see achievements, celebrations, beautiful destinations, expensive possessions, and smiling faces. Although we intellectually understand that these images represent only selected moments, emotionally we often compare our complete reality with someone else's carefully edited highlights. This creates the illusion that everyone else is happier, more successful, and more fulfilled. The result is constant dissatisfaction. No matter how much we achieve, there always appears to be someone doing better. Someone has a larger house, a higher salary, a better body, a more exciting vacation, or a more impressive career. Instead of appreciating our own progress, we become trapped in endless comparison. Satisfaction becomes impossible because there is always another standard to chase. Perhaps the most painful consequence of this culture is that people begin losing the ability to enjoy experiences privately. A beautiful sunset becomes an opportunity for content rather than quiet reflection. A meaningful conversation becomes less memorable than the photograph taken afterward. Special moments are interrupted by the desire to record, edit, and share them. Life gradually shifts from being lived to being performed. True identity cannot be built on appearance alone because appearance constantly changes. Trends disappear, beauty fades, careers evolve, and public attention moves elsewhere. If our sense of self depends entirely on external recognition, it will always remain fragile. A strong identity comes from values, character, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and inner purpose. These qualities cannot be measured by likes, followers, or material possessions. Recognizing that identity has become a product is the first step toward reclaiming authenticity. It allows people to question whether they are living according to their own values or merely responding to social expectations. Instead of asking how they appear to others, they can begin asking deeper questions. What kind of person do I want to become? What principles guide my life? What relationships truly matter? What gives me genuine peace when nobody is watching? The answers to these questions cannot be purchased, posted, or performed. They must be discovered through honest reflection, meaningful experiences, and the courage to live authentically. In a world that constantly encourages people to market themselves, choosing authenticity becomes a quiet act of resistance. It reminds us that our true identity is not a product to be sold but a character to be lived. One of the greatest paradoxes of modern life is that we have never had more ways to connect with people, yet genuine human connection has become increasingly rare. We can send a message across the world in seconds, make video calls with people thousands of miles away, and interact with hundreds of individuals every day through social media. Technology has removed almost every physical barrier to communication. Yet despite this unprecedented level of connectivity, millions of people experience a deep sense of loneliness. This contradiction reveals an uncomfortable truth about modern society. While communication has become easier than ever, meaningful relationships have become much harder to build and maintain. Modern culture has gradually adopted the logic of consumerism, where products are designed to be replaced as soon as something new appears. Unfortunately, this same mindset has begun influencing human relationships. Instead of viewing friendships, romantic partnerships, and even communities as lifelong commitments that require patience and effort, many people now approach them as temporary experiences. Relationships are often maintained only as long as they remain enjoyable or convenient. When challenges arise, the first instinct is frequently to leave rather than to work through the difficulties together. This way of thinking did not appear overnight. It developed alongside a society that constantly celebrates speed, convenience, and unlimited choice. Every day we are surrounded by messages encouraging us to upgrade our phones, replace our clothes, change our careers, and seek new experiences. Slowly, this habit of replacing objects extends into the emotional world. If everything else in life can be exchanged for something better, people begin wondering whether relationships should be treated the same way. Instead of asking how to strengthen a connection, they begin asking whether a better option exists somewhere else. Dating applications perfectly illustrate this change. They provide access to an almost endless number of potential partners. At first, this appears to increase freedom because people have more opportunities to meet others. However, the abundance of choice also changes how individuals think about commitment. Every disagreement, misunderstanding, or period of boredom may trigger the thought that someone more attractive, more successful, or more compatible is only one swipe away. This creates a constant temptation to search rather than to invest. Relationships become easier to begin, but much harder to deepen. The same pattern can be observed in friendships. Social media allows people to collect hundreds, or even thousands of online contacts. Many individuals proudly display large numbers of followers or friends, believing these numbers represent meaningful social connections. Yet when they face personal struggles, they often discover that only a handful of people truly know them or are willing to support them. Digital interaction creates the appearance of belonging without always providing the emotional security that genuine friendship requires. A true friendship is not built through occasional likes or short comments beneath photographs. It develops through shared experiences, honest conversations, trust, forgiveness, and time. These qualities cannot be created instantly. They require patience and consistency. Unfortunately, modern society often discourages exactly these virtues. We have become accustomed to immediate results. We expect instant replies, fast deliveries, quick entertainment, and rapid success. Waiting has become uncomfortable. Naturally, this impatience affects relationships as well. Many people expect emotional intimacy to develop quickly, and when it does not, they lose interest. Commitment itself has become something many people fear. The word commitment often carries negative associations, suggesting limitation, responsibility, or the loss of personal freedom. Society frequently presents independence as the highest form of happiness. People are encouraged to keep every option open, avoid becoming too attached, and maintain complete flexibility. While independence certainly has value, complete emotional detachment comes with a hidden cost. The more we avoid vulnerability, the less capable we become of experiencing genuine intimacy. Real relationships always involve risk. To truly love someone is to accept the possibility of disappointment, misunderstanding, and emotional pain. To build lasting friendships requires trust, and trust can only exist where vulnerability is allowed. Yet modern culture often teaches people to protect themselves by avoiding emotional investment. Instead of risking heartbreak, many choose emotional distance. Instead of facing conflict together, they quietly disappear. Instead of expressing honest feelings, they maintain carefully controlled interactions that never become too deep. This emotional caution creates an invisible loneliness. People may spend entire days communicating with others while never feeling truly understood. Conversations remain polite, entertaining, or informative, but they rarely reach the level where genuine human connection develops. Individuals become surrounded by acquaintances, but starved of companionship. They have many conversations, but few people with whom they can speak honestly about fear, failure, hope, or purpose. Consumer culture also encourages people to evaluate relationships according to personal benefit. Questions such as "What do I gain from this relationship?" often replace questions like "How can I contribute to this relationship?" Instead of viewing love and friendship as mutual commitments built on sacrifice and care, relationships are increasingly judged by immediate satisfaction. When expectations are no longer met, people feel justified in leaving without considering whether patience, communication, or forgiveness could strengthen the bond. This mindset weakens communities as well. In earlier generations, neighborhoods, religious institutions, local organizations, and extended families often created strong networks of support. People shared responsibilities, celebrated together, and helped one another through difficult times. While these communities were not perfect, they provided individuals with a sense of belonging and identity. Today, many people move frequently, change jobs regularly, and spend much of their social time online. Community becomes temporary rather than permanent. As a result, people often feel connected everywhere but rooted nowhere. Loneliness has therefore become one of the defining emotional experiences of modern society. It is important to understand that loneliness is not simply the absence of people. A person can feel lonely in a crowded city, within a workplace full of colleagues, or even while attending social gatherings every weekend. Loneliness is the absence of meaningful emotional connection. It is the feeling that nobody truly knows you or understands your inner world. Ironically, many people respond to loneliness by increasing the very behaviors that intensify it. Instead of investing more deeply in existing relationships, they spend additional hours scrolling through social media. Instead of having long conversations with close friends, they exchange short messages with dozens of acquaintances. Instead of embracing silence and reflection, they constantly distract themselves with digital entertainment. These activities temporarily reduce boredom, but rarely satisfy the deeper human need for belonging. Psychologically, human beings are not designed merely to interact. They are designed to connect. We seek acceptance, understanding, affection, trust, and shared purpose. These emotional needs cannot be fulfilled through algorithms or endless digital communication. They require presence, empathy, patience, and commitment. They require people who remain during difficult moments, not only during enjoyable ones. The fear of being emotionally vulnerable also contributes to this crisis. Modern culture often rewards confidence, independence, and self-sufficiency while treating vulnerability as weakness. Many people therefore hide their struggles behind carefully constructed public images. They smile in photographs while quietly battling anxiety, loneliness, or depression. Since everyone else appears successful and emotionally stable, individuals become afraid to reveal their own imperfections. This creates a society where countless people suffer privately while believing they are alone in their struggles. Building meaningful relationships demands the courage to move beyond superficial interactions. It requires listening without distraction, speaking honestly, forgiving mistakes, and remaining loyal even when circumstances become difficult. These actions may appear ordinary, but in a society that celebrates convenience and disposability, they become acts of quiet resistance. Every lasting friendship, every committed relationship, and every supportive community challenges the idea that people are replaceable. The solution to modern loneliness is therefore not simply increasing the number of social interactions. It is increasing their depth. One genuine conversation is often more valuable than hundreds of online exchanges. One trustworthy friend provides greater emotional security than thousands of followers. One relationship built on honesty and commitment offers more fulfillment than countless temporary connections. Human beings flourish when they know they belong somewhere. They need relationships that survive disagreement, communities that remain during hardship, and friendships that deepen over time. These bonds cannot be purchased, downloaded, or instantly created. They are built gradually through patience, consistency, sacrifice, and mutual care. Modern society may encourage people to treat everything as temporary and replaceable, but genuine happiness grows from exactly the opposite principle. The relationships that bring the greatest meaning to life are usually the ones we choose to protect, nurture, and preserve through both joyful and difficult seasons. Lasting connection is not the result of perfect compatibility. It is the result of people deciding that some relationships are too valuable to be treated like disposable products. One of the greatest promises of modern society is freedom. We are constantly told that we can become anything we want, live wherever we choose, pursue any career, express any opinion, and shape our lives according to our personal desires. Compared to previous generations, we undoubtedly have more opportunities than ever before. We have access to unlimited information, countless educational resources, thousands of career paths, and an endless variety of products, lifestyles, and experiences. At first glance, this appears to be the ultimate form of freedom. However, beneath this promise lies a surprising reality. Instead of making people feel liberated, the overwhelming number of choices has created widespread anxiety, uncertainty, and emotional exhaustion. It may seem strange that having more options could become a problem. After all, common sense tells us that more choices should increase happiness, because they allow us to find exactly what we want. But human psychology works differently. While having some choice is beneficial, having too many choices often makes decision-making far more difficult. Every option carries its own advantages and disadvantages, and the more alternatives we have, the harder it becomes to feel confident that we have made the right decision. Instead of experiencing freedom, people begin experiencing doubt. Imagine standing in front of a small cafe menu offering 3 types of coffee. Most people would quickly choose one and enjoy their drink without much thought. Now imagine walking into a cafe with 100 different coffee options, each with dozens of possible customizations. Suddenly, a simple decision becomes surprisingly stressful. People spend more time comparing, questioning, and worrying about making the wrong choice than actually enjoying the coffee itself. This simple example reflects a much larger reality in modern life. The same pattern appears in education and careers. Previous generations often followed relatively predictable paths. Many people entered professions similar to those of their parents, or remained with the same employer for decades. While those limitations reduced personal freedom, they also reduced uncertainty. Today, young people face thousands of possible career options. They are encouraged to discover their passion, maximize their potential, earn a high income, maintain work-life balance, and continuously develop new skills. Although these opportunities are valuable, they also create enormous pressure. Choosing one path often feels like rejecting hundreds of others, making every decision seem permanent and overwhelming. This pressure does not disappear after choosing a career. Modern workplaces constantly evolve due to technological innovation and economic change. Employees are expected to update their skills, adapt to new systems, and remain competitive throughout their working lives. Success no longer feels like reaching a destination, because the destination itself keeps moving. Just when someone believes they have achieved stability, new expectations emerge, requiring them to begin adapting once again. This creates a continuous feeling that no achievement is ever enough. Relationships are influenced by this abundance of choice as well. Dating applications, social media platforms, and digital communication have created the impression that there are endless potential partners available. While this increases opportunities to meet new people, it also weakens commitment. Every relationship exists alongside the possibility that someone more attractive, more compatible, or more exciting might appear tomorrow. Instead of fully investing in the person in front of them, many individuals remain emotionally cautious, afraid that committing too deeply may cause them to miss an even better opportunity. This way of thinking is closely connected to what psychologists call the fear of missing out. People constantly worry that while they are making one choice, someone else is making a better one. They fear choosing the wrong university, accepting the wrong job, marrying the wrong person, living in the wrong city, or spending their time in the wrong way. Even after making a decision, they continue comparing their lives with alternative possibilities they never experienced. Rather than enjoying the present moment, they imagine the happiness that might exist somewhere else. Social media dramatically intensifies this anxiety. Every day people witness others traveling, launching businesses, celebrating achievements, attending events, purchasing homes, and living lifestyles that appear exciting and fulfilling. These carefully selected moments create the illusion that everyone else is making perfect decisions. As a result, people begin questioning their own choices. They wonder whether they should have studied something different, moved to another country, started another business, or pursued another relationship. Comparison becomes endless because there is always another life to admire. Consumer culture reinforces this mindset by convincing people that satisfaction always lies in the next purchase. Advertisements rarely encourage contentment with what people already own. Instead, they suggest that happiness is always one product away. A newer phone promises greater productivity. A more expensive car promises higher status. Better clothing promises greater confidence. New technology promises a better future. The message is consistent. Whatever you currently have is not enough, because something better already exists. This endless pursuit of improvement gradually changes people's relationship with satisfaction itself. Instead of appreciating what they have, they become conditioned to focus on what they lack. Every achievement quickly loses its emotional impact because attention shifts toward the next goal. Promotions lose their excitement after a few weeks. New possessions become ordinary. Long-awaited experiences fade into memory. Since another opportunity is always available, lasting contentment becomes increasingly difficult to achieve. One of the hidden consequences of having too many choices is decision paralysis. Faced with countless alternatives, many people delay making important decisions altogether. They postpone career changes, relationships, business opportunities, and personal goals because they fear making the wrong choice. Waiting appears safer than acting. Ironically, this attempt to avoid mistakes often creates even greater regret, because valuable opportunities disappear, while people remain trapped in endless analysis. Perfectionism also grows stronger in an environment filled with unlimited possibilities. Since people believe they should be able to find the perfect career, perfect relationship, perfect home, or perfect lifestyle, they become dissatisfied with ordinary imperfections. Real life, however, is never perfect. Every job includes challenges. Every relationship involves disagreements. Every city has advantages and disadvantages. Every life contains moments of joy alongside periods of difficulty. Those who constantly search for perfection often overlook the genuine beauty that exists within imperfect realities. The abundance of information contributes to this problem as well. Before making almost any decision, people now have access to countless articles, reviews, videos, expert opinions, and personal experiences. While information can improve decision-making, excessive information often creates confusion. Different experts recommend conflicting approaches. Every option has supporters and critics. Instead of providing clarity, endless information sometimes leaves individuals feeling even less certain than before they began researching. Perhaps the greatest emotional cost of unlimited choice is the loss of gratitude. Gratitude flourishes when people appreciate what they already possess. Constant comparison, however, shifts attention away from present blessings toward imagined alternatives. Rather than enjoying meaningful relationships, satisfying careers, or peaceful moments, people become preoccupied with opportunities they never pursued. Life begins to feel like a series of missed possibilities instead of valuable experiences. This anxiety affects mental health in profound ways. Constant decision-making drains emotional energy. Worrying about future choices increases stress. Comparing ourselves with others weakens self-confidence. Fear of making mistakes encourages hesitation. Gradually, people become emotionally exhausted by the simple act of trying to live well. Freedom, which was supposed to provide happiness, begins to feel like a heavy responsibility. The solution is not to eliminate choice completely. Freedom remains one of humanity's greatest achievements. The challenge is learning to use freedom wisely rather than becoming controlled by it. This requires accepting an important truth: no decision will ever guarantee a perfect life. Every choice involves sacrifice, because choosing one path naturally means leaving others behind. Accepting this reality allows people to stop searching for impossible certainty. Meaningful lives are rarely built by making perfect decisions. They are built by committing wholeheartedly to the decisions we make. A career becomes fulfilling through dedication, learning, and perseverance. Relationships become meaningful through trust, patience, and shared experiences. Communities become valuable through participation and service. Purpose develops not because every choice is flawless, but because people invest themselves deeply in the paths they choose. True freedom is therefore not measured by the number of options available. It is measured by the ability to choose wisely, accept imperfection, and live with confidence rather than constant regret. When people stop chasing every possible opportunity and begin fully embracing the life they have chosen, they discover something that endless possibilities can never provide: peace of mind. Real freedom does not come from keeping every door open forever. It comes from having the courage to walk through one door with commitment, gratitude, and the confidence that a meaningful life is created not by endless choices, but by faithful dedication to the choices we make. After understanding why modern life often feels empty, why identity has become something to be marketed, why relationships have become increasingly fragile, and why unlimited choices frequently create anxiety instead of freedom, one important question remains: is there a way out? Are human beings destined to live in a constant state of restlessness, always chasing the next achievement, the next purchase, or the next distraction without ever feeling truly fulfilled? The answer is yes, there is a way forward, but it is not the path that modern society usually encourages. The solution is not found in moving faster, consuming more, or becoming more visible. It begins by building a life that is stable, meaningful, and rooted in values that do not change every time the world changes. Modern society often teaches us that happiness comes from constant movement. We are encouraged to keep improving, keep buying, keep achieving, and keep searching for something better. If we feel unhappy, we are told that the answer is another promotion, another relationship, another vacation, another gadget, or another goal. Yet many people eventually realize that every new achievement brings excitement for only a short time before the feeling fades. The emptiness returns because the problem was never the lack of external success. The problem was the absence of an inner foundation. A meaningful life cannot be built on things that constantly change. Money can be lost. Popularity can disappear. Beauty fades with time. Careers rise and fall. Technology becomes outdated. Public opinion changes quickly. If our identity depends entirely on these temporary things, our sense of self will always remain unstable. Every external change will feel like a personal crisis. That is why genuine fulfillment begins by building something within ourselves that remains steady regardless of what happens around us. The first step toward a meaningful life is learning to commit. Modern culture often presents commitment as something restrictive, suggesting that true freedom means keeping every option open. However, real meaning grows only where commitment exists. A tree becomes strong because its roots remain planted in one place. If it were constantly uprooted and moved, it would never mature. Human life follows the same principle. Relationships deepen through commitment. Skills develop through commitment. Character grows through commitment. Purpose emerges through commitment. A life without commitment may appear free, but it often becomes directionless. This principle applies to relationships more than anything else. Deep love is not created by finding a perfect person. It is created when imperfect people choose to remain loyal, patient, and understanding despite life's inevitable difficulties. Lasting friendships are built through years of trust, shared experiences, forgiveness, and mutual support. Families become strong because people choose to remain connected even during challenging times. Every meaningful relationship requires effort, sacrifice, and consistency. These qualities may seem old-fashioned in a world that values convenience, but they remain essential for genuine happiness. Another important step is rediscovering the value of presence. Many people spend so much time worrying about the future or comparing themselves with others that they forget to experience the present moment. They check their phones while eating meals, think about work while spending time with family, and scroll through social media while sitting beside friends. Physically they are present, but mentally they are somewhere else. Meaningful living begins when we give our full attention to the people and experiences in front of us. A simple conversation, a quiet walk, or a shared meal often becomes more valuable than expensive experiences because it is lived with genuine presence. Modern life constantly demands attention. Notifications, advertisements, news updates, videos, and endless streams of information compete for every spare moment of our day. As a result, silence has become uncomfortable for many people. The moment they are alone, they instinctively reach for a screen. Yet silence is not something to fear. It is in silence that we begin hearing our own thoughts. It is in stillness that we reflect on our values, examine our lives, and understand ourselves more deeply. Without moments of quiet reflection, life becomes nothing more than a continuous reaction to external distractions. Self-knowledge is another essential foundation of a meaningful life. Many individuals know what society expects from them, but rarely ask themselves what truly matters to them personally. They spend years pursuing goals that impress others without considering whether those goals actually align with their own values. Genuine fulfillment requires honest self-examination. It involves asking difficult questions. What kind of person do I want to become? What principles will guide my decisions? What legacy do I hope to leave behind? What brings me peace even when nobody else notices? These questions cannot be answered quickly, but they provide direction that external success alone never can. Building a meaningful life also requires shifting attention away from external validation. Modern society encourages people to measure their worth through followers, likes, income, titles, and achievements. While recognition can be encouraging, it is a fragile foundation for self-esteem because it depends entirely on other people's opinions. Public approval changes constantly. Today's admiration may become tomorrow's criticism. Those who build their identity upon external praise become emotionally dependent on forces they cannot control. Inner confidence develops differently. It grows through living according to personal values rather than public expectations. A person who acts with honesty, integrity, kindness, and courage possesses a source of confidence that cannot be taken away by changing opinions. They know who they are because their identity is rooted in character rather than popularity. This type of confidence remains steady even when recognition disappears, because it is built from within instead of being borrowed from others. Gratitude is another powerful antidote to modern emptiness. Consumer culture constantly focuses attention on what people lack. Advertisements remind us of what we do not own. Social media highlights experiences we have not had. Comparison encourages us to notice what others possess rather than appreciating our own blessings. Gratitude reverses this pattern. Instead of constantly seeking more, grateful people learn to value what already exists in their lives. They appreciate relationships, health, opportunities, memories, and simple daily experiences that are often overlooked. Gratitude does not ignore life's difficulties, but it prevents dissatisfaction from becoming our permanent state of mind. Purpose also plays a central role in escaping the emptiness of modern life. Many people pursue happiness directly, believing that pleasure itself should be the ultimate goal. Yet happiness often appears unexpectedly when people dedicate themselves to something greater than themselves. Serving others, raising a family, creating meaningful work, contributing to a community, helping those in need, or pursuing a worthwhile cause provides a sense of significance that temporary pleasures rarely offer. Purpose shifts attention away from endless self-focus and directs it toward meaningful contribution. Developing meaningful habits is equally important. Our lives are shaped less by dramatic moments than by small daily actions repeated consistently over time. Reading thoughtful books instead of endlessly scrolling through social media, exercising regularly, spending quality time with loved ones, practicing reflection, learning new skills, and serving others gradually create a stronger and more balanced character. These habits may appear ordinary, but together they build an extraordinary life, because they strengthen the inner foundations that modern society often neglects. It is also important to accept that meaningful living does not eliminate suffering. Every human life includes disappointment, loss, uncertainty, failure, and pain. The goal is not to create a life without problems, but to develop the inner strength to face them wisely. A meaningful life provides stability during difficult seasons because it is built upon values that remain constant. People who possess strong relationships, clear principles, and a sense of purpose often recover more effectively from hardship because they know what truly matters. Perhaps the greatest lesson is that fulfillment grows slowly. Modern culture celebrates instant results, but the most valuable aspects of life cannot be rushed. Trust takes years to earn. Wisdom develops through experience. Character grows through repeated choices. Deep friendships require time. Lasting love matures gradually. Inner peace is cultivated through daily practice. There are no shortcuts to genuine meaning because meaningful lives are built one faithful decision at a time. The world around us will continue changing rapidly. New technologies will emerge. Trends will come and go. Careers will evolve. Social expectations will shift. We cannot control these external changes, but we can decide what kind of person we become within them. We can choose integrity instead of popularity, commitment instead of convenience, gratitude instead of constant comparison, reflection instead of endless distraction, and purpose instead of temporary pleasure. Ultimately, the way out of modern emptiness is not found by escaping the world, but by learning how to live wisely within it. We do not need to reject technology, ambition, or progress. Instead, we need to ensure that these tools serve our values rather than replacing them. A meaningful life is not measured by how much we own, how many people admire us, or how many opportunities we pursue. It is measured by the depth of our character, the strength of our relationships, the clarity of our purpose, and the peace we experience when we know we are living according to what truly matters. When we build our lives on these enduring foundations, we discover that fulfillment is not something we chase endlessly in the future. It is something we quietly create each day through the choices we make and the values we choose to live by.